Hey guys, I broke the drone at the weekend again. The exact same problem I had before. The motor's not working, and I think it's the ESC again. So the board needs replacing. I don't know how it's arrived so quickly, but I've got the board back, so I'm going to replace that. And I thought I would do it on video because I've done it twice now. So what's the third time? I kind of know what I'm doing now, and I have to do it today because check what's happening outside. I mean, look at this. Blue skies, oh my god, blue skies. When you've got weather like this in England, you don't ask questions, you don't faff around, you just get out, you just take it. You know, it's kind of like a gift from someone, you just receive it. I'm gonna repair the drone, hopefully get out in this amazing weather, because I'm pretty sure it's raining all day tomorrow. That's England for you, so I'm not gonna faff around. In fact, what I'll do is I'll show you what the drone does. Don't forget to plug the antenna back in before you do the battery, but I'll show you what a bust ESC looks like. So keep an eye on this motor. So it seems to twitch okay. It doesn't give too much away, right? Watch this. I'm going to arm it. Okay, it was doing this very, very weird motion. To prove that it's not the motor, I have another motor. I could plug it in, but to be honest, just take my word for it, it does exactly the same thing. Right, but first, before you do anything, if you're going to replace the board, you're about to lose all your settings that you had. So make sure that you copy all of your settings that you have already on the board. You know, if you need to focus, try Ludovic Einaudi, honestly. Spotify him, he's great. And I'm listening to his latest album, Elements, if you've not heard it. I hope my video doesn't get removed from YouTube just for playing this in the background. That would be a disaster. Right. So, Cleanflight is loaded this time, yay. I'll pop it here for a second. So I've got it on auto connect, so it should just connect. Okay, there's the drone, so that's all working. What I'll do now is I'll just quickly check what my configuration is. So my minimum throttle's at 1090, motor stop off, one shot off. What I'll do just to make this easier for me, for myself, is I will just take a quick screenshot and then refer to that later. I'm going to do the exact same thing. These are my PIDs that I'm running. So 60 rate, you're 40. There you go. You can pause that if you want to have a real look at it. Screenshot it. Receiver. Don't need to do anything there. These are my modes on my controller. Screenshot that. Don't have anything. Don't. Motors. No. Right, that's pretty much it. So disconnect this. Exit that. Unplug the drone. Right, so like I was saying, there's a few things if you want to take this board off, there's a few things that you must unplug, okay? So first, each of these 4 motors needs to be unplugged. I honestly just grab the black bits because they're quite rugged and I just pull them. Maybe some people don't advise against that, but if you just try and grab some clippers on either side of the plastic, I find that you damage the plastic, so it's not worth doing that. Just grab the wires, it's quite chunky, and just pull, and they should just come right out. So we'll start there. The next thing you're going to want to do is unplug so this is the cable that goes from the receiver to the board. I like these. I can put them on both sides and just press down. There you go, that's unplugged. The next is at the back. You've got the LED bar and then you've got the video transmission system. Again, just using the same. I mean, you should, if you have tweezers or something, that should work as well. Okay. A little bit trickier because there's you're sort of pressing back against the cables here. Done. Okay. At this point, it's ready to come off once I unscrew these. For this, you don't need to have the Allen key. You just need something to unscrew. You can use a screwdriver. That'll be fine. Okay. Now this should literally just pop off. It does require a bit of force. There we go. And that's how you remove the board. Notice how I've got these two capacitors stuck down with a bit of tape. On my first board, I lost one. They come off really easily. And if you see here, these with the bit of tape, it just keeps them in place. But this one, which is the new board, you can see how they're just a bit looser. And do you know what? Because of the way this cable, how it's been mounted anyway, the FPV cable that runs to the back of the board and then plugs in at the back, this can tend to press against the capacitors here. If you wonder what they are, I've got a few here. They're 470 microfarad, 35 volt capacitors. You can literally buy them from like any electronic store. The only thing to note about these capacitors is that if you do want to replace one yourself, the actual holes, the positive and negative, are mirrored. They're a mirror image, and the capacitors are a mirror placement. So they're not like plus minus plus minus. They're more like minus plus plus minus. So be aware that one of those capacitors is the opposite way around to the other. Okay, if you're going to replace it yourself. Put this to one side now. It's the broken board. I've got two broken boards. I'm like stocking them. If anyone wants a broken board, let me know. So that should hold them in place so that they shouldn't get abused as much, they shouldn't vibrate as much, and I think that constant vibration actually weakens the legs. So just having a bit of tape there just to absorb some of that and reduce that, I think it helps. It might not, to be fair, but the other board has at least held its capacitor without losing one, so I'll assume my tape method worked, so I'm going to do it for this one. Right, now the drone. And that's it, really. That's as simple as it is. All it is a case of now is plugging it back in, reflashing the BIOS, and putting the settings that you had on it before, and you're done. So I'll just go ahead and fix this down. Now this is actually quite a tricky part. Okay. And then what I find as well is at this point, plugging in the back actually really helps. So plug the back in first, the LED and the FPV wires. I find that it's the LED wire which is a bit trickier to get back in place. Again, this is where these come in handy. Or not. There we go. So that's roughly, I can push them in afterwards. The next thing is getting the XT60 connector through this hole. That can be quite tricky, especially if you've damaged or bent your board in any way, because things don't quite line up as easily. I think I might, sometimes I just get lucky and it just goes straight in. Or no. I've honestly not worked out an easy way of getting this to go in, but I tend to try and focus on trying to get the back of the board down first, the bit nearer the video transmission. There we go. Okay, so really lifting that front and pressing down was the answer there. Just lifting this back bit up a little bit more to get the front bit in. There we go. Okay. Woohoo! Fantastico. So now, just press it down all the way, make sure it's clipping. Then use the little tweezers to clip that. So that's the LED. The FPV looks like it's all ready. clipping just fine. Now you can do this bit afterwards, but I like to do it now, just so that I know I've done it. Get the motors all clipped in. Be careful that you don't rip the sockets off the PDP. And the next thing is this wire, which is what we started with, this cable even. And there we go. And that's back in. Right, so just quickly before you put the screws on, do a quick check. Is it all in? Does it look secure? If the answer is yes, which it does, then you're good to screw it back on. That will hold it in place. Now what I do is I literally get the Allen key and just make sure that these are all screwed down and that they've not been pushed. And the thing is, as you screw the bolts back on, as you screw the nuts back on, these will start to push out, so you'll need to provide a little counter torque with the Allen key in order to make sure that the screws are flush against the board, and then you can tighten the nut gently. Okay. So, just a quick check. That's all screwed in, all plugged in. Seems that way. Okay. Now it's just a case of connecting it back up with Cleanflight and flashing the board. So I always screw the antenna back on, just because it's so easy just to plug a battery in or something, even though you don't need a battery at this point. And then you could fry the VTX. Right, so first what you want to do is go to firmware flasher. You want the latest NAS, so it usually be right at the top. You want the latest stable version, which at the moment is 1.12.1. Then you want to go down here in the bottom right hand corner to load firmware online. Okay. At this point you want to plug in your board. Okay. Wait for the lights to go. Now once you've got that, you want to, there's a button here called flash firmware. So you hit load firmware after selecting the version, and then you hit flash firmware, and it should take about 10 seconds. Flashing. Verifying. Successful. And that's how you flash a board to the latest version. Right, so make sure you've got the right port selected up here. Hit connect, and there we go. So if we know it's all working, it should. There we are. So we've just successfully replaced the board. Okay. So that looks like it's all working. Going into the configuration, that's how it was before. However, the minimum throttle was 1090 for me. So I'll quickly change that. Hit save and reboot after every page. It will say here rebooting ready, so that's now done. I use motor stop off. PID tuning, so my PIDs are a little bit different. Don't forget to hit save. I'm just going to quickly go back and check that is still at 1090. These have all stayed the same, which is good. Go back to modes, and this is when you can configure your controller. I'll do this anyway just so that you guys can see the process. So to do this bit, you do need your propellers on. Sorry, you need a battery in. You should probably take your propellers off actually, and I might actually do that now quickly just because it is safer. So I'm just going to quickly configure the modes, let you see how I do this. So the controller remains bound. The controller remains bound to the drone because I've not changed the receiver unit. However, I do still need to program the board to know what these switches mean, which is all obviously kept on the main board. So I want to add an arm switch. So first I want to plug a battery in to make sure that the drone is receiving the inputs from the controller. So get your battery, and you will be spinning the motors up, so you may as well strap it down. So I'm going to plug this in quickly. What we'll do is we'll go to receiver first. So can you see how the numbers are twitching? That says to me that it's connected. So if I do throttle, throttle's moving up and down. Yaw is working, pitch is working, they're all working in the right directions, which is good. aux 1, well, sorry, aux 2, aux 1, which is a 3 switch, and I've not got any other channels, so that's the most I'm expecting. But that does all work, which is good news. So going on to motors. Right, to test that the motors will spool, obviously make sure that there's nothing near your motors first, and then what you want to do is hit this switch. I understand the risks. Now if I lift this, we should get to see what it does. So in actual fact, the front right motor is working. Can you see? They're all working. And there we go. Working wonderfully. Fantastico. Right, now to set the modes. So, arm switch, I want that on aux 2, which is this switch. So when I flick this switch, you can see it flicking. The arm mode is up, so that's where that bit is. So you want to slide this to within there, okay, save. Oops, so I left it on, but now when I do that, it arms, which is good news. So I want to add angle mode, horizon mode, and air mode. Okay, so I like my air mode in this position, lowest, which is where that green arrow is, where that green line is. So if I do that, like that, then flick the switch to this position, which I like to have as horizon mode. Yeah, horizon mode's fine. And then angle mode I'll set here. Okay, so just to test these all out, so it's on horizon mode but it's not armed. I can arm it, and it puts the motors on because motor stop is off. Okay, angle, horizon, air mode. Disarm. So that's all working. Just quickly check what the motors are spinning at when I've got it armed. Okay, if I move it around, you'll see it does react. and that's how you replace a mainboard on a Nighthawk 280. Hope that was useful, guys. Hopefully now I'm going to be able to get outside and use this awesome weather. Anyway, take care, have fun flying.